5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody! Welcome to another episode of Arkosaurs Evolved. Here, we, a group of junior paleontologists, talk about the weird and wacky creatures in Ark Survival Evolved, and see how they compare to their real-world counterparts. Sometimes they're weirder, sometimes they're wackier, and sometimes they're just pretty cool. Or disappointing.
Yeah. And today we have a special for you, as today is technically the one creature we're discussing that isn't in Ark, technically. Last week, you may have saw that we decided to add the Ark Editions creatures to the list because of the fact that, well, they're being added to Ark Ascended, and then we immediately rolled one. So, Brachiosaurus.
Not only one of the best ones, at least in my opinion.
If not the best.
I have opinions on what's the best one.
But before we introduce the creature, we should probably introduce ourselves. I am Dr. Dino. I am a paleontologist doing fieldwork in the Badlands of Wyoming. And I have some experience with sauropods.
You do?
So I'm going to be talkative this episode.
Alright. My name is Gojira. I am a paleobiology master's student at the University of Bristol. I do not have as much sauropod experience as Doc, but I have seen a couple pretty big sauropod vertebrae during a vacation, so at the BYU Museum.
And
Well,
I'm
you did go
Dominic.
hunt for Cetiosaurus.
That's true. You could go hunt for whales and lizards together, combined
Fair
into
enough.
one. Anyways, that's a joke that none of you will ever get. My name is Dominic. I am currently, if you want my actual title, currently I'm a cashier at a local gas station. But I currently am in between internships and stuff. Might be going out west, might be doing stuff, but technically I'm a prep fossil preparator in training. I think that's technically what I am. But yeah, and I have options. I might be going back to college to get a biology degree. So mostly because my local zoo doesn't let me intern unless I'm at college, which is really annoying.
Well, at any rate, together we are the Mountainheads. And today we have something with a rather large head, with bones.
Its head's not that big compared to the rest of it.
A very army
Compared to the
lizard.
rest, it's still a big head.
I guess. Anything that's the size of a skyscraper will have a large head.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, this is Brachiosaurus, the arm lizard. So named because it has long arms.
Yes. And this is altithorax, right?
Yep.
I don't know if that's the species name in game, but the real one is Altithorax.
Let me check, and I don't know if the Ark Editions changed them, but let me check on my handy dandy notepad phone.
Right. Oh, and we also have one of the largest mammals to ever live, for scale.
The largest mammal. Actually, the tallest. The tallest, not the largest. You're right.
It is not exactly to scale. These guys are a little big, but...
A little.
Speaking of their little big, this is Brachiosaurus immensis.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that in a little bit. For now, though, Brachiosaurus itself is a rather interesting dinosaur. At least to anyone except Dom, apparently.
I think it's an overhyped sauropod. There are infinitely cooler sauropods that are below its size. There are actually cooler sauropods that are bigger than it too. It's just,
Well,
Dom being wrong aside, Brachiosaurus is it is very famous. It's one of the most well-known sauropods.
that's
yeah,
it.
for good reason. For a long time, it was actually considered to be the largest sauropod.
With reason too, before the Titanosaurs were discovered in South America and such, what this just was? Maybe Sauroposeidon or Cetiosaurus? Maybe.
I think Seismosaurus slash Supersaurus.
You mean
were
Diplodocus?
estimated to be bigger in like
I
mass.
didn't,
But-
I didn't know those were still real.
They're
Size
debatable.
Seismosaurus is Supersaurus, yes, that's still real. Seismosaurus is Diplodocus holorum.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. And then let me check Supersaurus. Because I thought both of those are not real. Both of them are longer, they're definitely not heavier.
Oh no.
Oh, that's
like-
fair.
Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, until the Titanosaurs, probably until we discovered, well, Argentinosaurus, or Diamantosaurus, right? Those were the first two, if I'm remembering my timeline correctly.
Saltosaurus is a titanosaur.
Saltosaurus is tiny, though, for a
Yeah, in
for a
comparison.
sauropod.
Oh wait,
I,
what about Amphicelius?
that, we're not on
Oh, that's
Diplodocus
true.
yet. Shut up! We haven't talked about Diplodocus yet. You get to speak those words to me. Possibly fake bones aside, yes, Brachiosaurus, it might still be the tallest, right? Depending on how you...
Poseidon
No.
is probably taller.
Poseidon, okay.
Yeah, and there's some argument to be made on some of the later titanosaurs.
Depends
though
how
most of
you...
them are pretty fragmentary.
That
It
is,
also depends how you position them
yeah.
skeletally.
Oh, and like Lusatitan from Portugal.
Lusatitan's big. Lusatitan's real big.
Yeah.
But yes,
But at any
Brachiosaurus
rate-
is a
go ahead.
monster.
Absolutely.
It's also a form of convergent evolution to match with our previous episode. So most sauropods appear to just eat whatever they want. For the most part, they are grazers and blah blah blah. But Brachiosaurus, I think, the only other is one of only 3 creatures to purposely eliminate competition by just being tall. I think the only ones are Andricothiers and giraffes, are technically proboscideans, but you do it in this way with massively upright, tall necks.
Mm-hmm.
I say upright, like, but Paris Andricothiers, which isn't technically real. They don't care. It's what I grew up with. Don't have upright necks, but in their environments, they didn't need it. But
there's the question. How do we know the position of their necks?
I actually don't know
That
that
has
for
been a matter
Brachiosaurus.
of debate.
It
I
is
actually know that for Brachiosaurus. Huh.
So
because there was a big debate going on, like I think the 90s, early 2000s, right?
I'd assume it's dinosaur evolution, so yeah.
yeah,
There was like a big debate going on about, how can a creature this size have a neck that goes vertical without having a heart strong enough to pump that blood up? But yeah, that has been a matter of debate.
the answer: they had a really strong heart.
A very strong heart, and had
Yes.
super high blood pressure.
A very strong 4-chambered heart, most likely, like modern birds. For those who don't know, there are different types of hearts. You can have 2 chambers, 3 chambers, or 4 chambers. 1-chamber hearts probably exist too, but I don't know of them if they exist. And the more chambers you have, the more control and often the more power you have when it comes to pumping blood. Modern mammals and birds both have 4-chambered hearts. Crocodilians have 3-chambered hearts, but they might have ancestrally had 4-chambered hearts. It seems that they have a semi-inactive chamber, which is kind of interesting. And then a lot of lizards just have 3-chambered hearts.
and I believe crocodilians have 3-chambered hearts, or do they have 4?
I just said they have 3 chambers, but they have what might be an inactive 4th chamber.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, this is Brachiosaurus altithorax, which is an interesting combination of words if you know Latin.
It's a good name.
It's a good name. Brachiosaurus means arm lizard, so named because Brachiosaurus is really weird among tetrapods, in that its forearms are longer than its hind limbs. That's really not common.
No.
And they're not as much longer as depicted in this model. They're a little exaggerated. But they are noticeably longer. And altithorax means tall or deep-chested, because Brachiosaurus has notably large ribs for its body size. It has a very deep chest.
Got that barrel chest.
Yes, and there are a few things for possible reasons. For its arms, it appears to just be more height. As again, I mentioned earlier, Brachiosaurus appears. Sorry, I'm just pulling out my notes. It appears Brachiosaurus probably was. I actually don't know what's the term really, but it specifically was a creature that eats only from the tops of trees, the freshest leaves. I actually don't know if there's a term.
Like a treetop browser?
Yes, I don't know if there's a term for that. It'd be the same as like giraffes.
I don't know. Altivore?
Let me look it up. Let's see.
Does it appear to be?
No.
Yo. Anyways.
Oh, is there?
I'm not finding one.
So they're just treetop browsers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, treetop browsers, which they definitely are. I don't even a high browser. That's unhelpful, but I guess that's less jargon, better. I guess.
And it's actually notable that these guys don't have the right teeth.
No, they don't.
Actually, I can go inside the mouth. Yeah, their teeth aren't right. They're too normal sauropody, and they shouldn't be.
Oh, yeah, speaking of normal sauropody, it actually mentions even if Brachiosaurus probably didn't hold its neck near vertical, which it probably did, its head would still be a good 30 meters, sorry, not meters, 9 meters off the ground, which is still insane for a sauropod.
9 meters sounds a little low.
That's if its neck was more a normal sauropody.
Oh,
not
like horizontal.
Vertical. Yes, was more like not horizontal, but more like I would think Titanosaurs are, which is at a weird angle.
Like 45-degree angle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of vertical, which it was probably. Probably mostly fed above foliage, above 5 meters. Again, I'm just reading from my notes. It probably ate everything that it could find. This is actually a sauropod that I think wouldn't have done the evil horse thing of, oh, dead baby bird, I'm going to eat it, because it couldn't reach it. Well, it could, but
I mean,
I don't know if
like it would go pull Nest's hole in the trees.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'd be horrified if a Brachiosaurus just, a nest of eggs.
Like,
I mean, they did have to drink still.
That's also true.
You gotta drink that blood.
No. Yes.
But maybe we should explain a bit about what this guy is.
Oh, yes.
Or should we do discovery or phylogeny first?
We'll do discovery. Brachiosaurus' discovery is interesting. Which I will do,
so-
if you don't mind.
So,
Sure.
Brachiosaurus was discovered near the Colorado River, and you'll never guess what state the Colorado River is in. It was discovered
It's in Wyoming.
It's in
Very funny.
Missouri.
I am very funny. Well, Kansas City isn't in Kansas, so
Well, at any rate, it was discovered in western Colorado in the year 1900 by a team led by paleontologist Elmer Riggs. It was
good man.
I don't know much about him, but funny enough, even after it was discovered, it wasn't the highest priority dig of that year. There was another animal that drew more eyes, which sadly is not in Ark, Camarasaurus, although they called it Morosaurus at the time.
There's actually one more creature discovered on this dig.
Oh, what was the other creature?
Torvosaurus tanneri.
Ooh.
Really?
Yeah, it was discovered in 1899.
Same crew?
It appears to be the same crew. It looks like they went out. The first expedition was Torvosaurus. Then they went back to drop it off, and then went back like, oh, there's more dinosaurs here, and then found Brachiosaurus, another Apatosaurus, and you sure they discovered Camarasaurus?
It was labeled as Morosaurus, but yeah. It might not have been at the same site, but it was nearby.
So anyways,
No, I'm looking through it. The dig isn't listed of finding another sauropod besides an Apatosaurus and a Brachiosaurus.
It might have been a different dig in a similar location. I just
Yeah.
know it had higher priority at the time.
Yes.
Also, Look at the plotting
What are
this
you
out.
doing? Is it attacking it?
Yeah.
yep, this is an
It-
example
it's just doing the headbutt thing they do, where it tries to push things.
He
this is
did.
an example of Morrison niche partitioning, people.
Yes.
Of
This
Morrison
sure.
competition.
Yes, and let's
show them.
exhibit some other niche partitioning.
Are you just
I'm
gonna
going-
niche partition this to death?
I'm going to partition the foot over your ribs.
Speaking of, you know what? This will lead into things. We've talked about. We're gonna talk about that now. The Morris information we've talked about once before in our first episode with Allosaurus, and we talked about how it's a very well sampled place. Why the they're in Arctidus?
Because we're in the redwoods.
Oh, I forgot they spawn here. I thought that's not Arctidus. That's the cave bear. Regardless, the Morris information is very interesting, as it's, in my opinion, after looking into it, it shouldn't be a formation. It should be the Morrison group. It's that big.
Agreed.
It's also expanded that massive amount of time. But even in that time, Brachiosaurus appears to be. What's the term that things lived at the same time?
Contemporaneous.
Contemporaneous. Thank you. Yeah, contemporaneous with a lot of other sauropods and other carnivores. Things like Torvosaurus, obviously, Allosaurus and Ceratosaurus, and sauropods including Brachiosaurus, Brontosaurus, Apatosaurus, Diplodocus, Camarasaurus, probably more. And in that sort of thing, again, Brachiosaurus doing this is very much, I don't even know if it's niche partitioning at this point. This is just Brachiosaurus removing all competition from its food source. And another way it probably did that was just being the biggest thing there. Nothing probably, even other sauropods got in the way of a Brachiosaurus. And probably adult Brachiosaurus probably had no natural predators, full stop. I don't even
Probably.
think a swarm of Mr. Direbear, sir?
He's having a strunk.
Okay. I don't even think a mob of Allosaurus could take down an adult Brachiosaurus. At least not one that's healthy.
No.
No. And part of the reasons that is, one, Brachiosaurus I think Brachiosaurus was one of the first sauropods to fully agreed upon the idea that it could rear up on its back feet, or that was accepted.
So that has been contentious.
I'm aware it has, but
and actually, I would say Diplodocids were more early accepted, as far as I'm aware, and more commonly accepted. Yes.
I know they were commonly accepted. I didn't know they were first.
So with Diplodocids, a lot of their body weight is positioned right over the hip. So it would have been very easy for them to rear on their hind legs.
Yes.
Brachiosaurus, which, I mean, we didn't finish Discovery.
No, we didn't.
We didn't find much of it.
No, and we still haven't.
So sorry, we're kind of scattered this episode.
We are
going back to Discovery, and let's stick with the topic and finish it.
No.
So found 1900, described in 1903, given the name Brachiosaurus altithorax. What they found, and this is reading from Le Wikipedia, an articulated series of dorsal vertebrae, so vertebrae of the spine, like the back. Wow, vertebrae of the spine. Bravo, me. Back vertebrae, the ilium, which is the upper part of the hip, the femur, a couple of ribs, fragments of the scapula, and a humerus. That was all that was found at this dig.
Oh.
Now, we have found more since then. There have been quite a few fossil hunting expeditions to the Morrison, and even with how rare Brachiosaurus is, and make no mistake, Brachiosaurus is extremely rare for Morrison sauropod,
Which
we
is
have found a
interesting.
bit more. We found a couple of neck vertebrae. We found a complete scapula, another humerus. We found a complete hind foot, which is actually massive.
What? It's bigger than me, isn't it?
It's at least a good meter across. It's called Bigfoot.
It's big.
Big.
We have more parts of the forearm and hand, and we do have a skull.
We do?
Yes, we do. We have quite a bit of the skull, actually.
We do.
Oh, I didn't know we did. I thought, as I mentioned this, we never had a Brachiosaurus skull, and you may be wondering why Brachiosaurus' skull in this game, and every time you've seen it looks like it, and then segue into something Gojira's going to talk about. But I guess I don't get that anymore.
Sorry, I wanted to finish a topic.
Well, I can start a new one.
I feel we should finish topics before segueing and then have to go back.
Yeah, that's boring.
That's too professional. We
Exactly.
have to keep the in-training spirit of this channel.
We technically aren't employed yet. We don't have to be professionals. I agree.
Okay, well, how about this? How about I do a phylogeny quick, and then Gojira, would you like to talk about the giraffe in the room?
Yeah,
do.
that's what I was gonna. Yes,
Yeah.
and then I can do more stuff.
Okay, so for phylogeny, this thing is a sauropod, which you can probably tell because of its sauropoda. It doesn't have
Now,
lizard feet.
Doc, what is a sauropod? You may
Well,
be
it's
wondering.
something that has lizard feet. You know, you've seen lizard feet like this, haven't you?
Yeah, common lizard feet. Those.
Yeah,
Uh,
easy.
sauropods, everyone knows what a sauropod is. Brontosaurus, Apatosaurus, they're the long necks with long tails. And thick, chunky bodies with big legs. Sauropods are a group of dinosaurs that first appear in the late Triassic with what used to be called prosauropods, but are now just called basal sauropodomorphs.
That's not the first one that we have. It's Eoraptor. Eoraptor is the first sauropod we have. So,
sauropodomorph, yeah.
Can I segue into Eoraptor? Because we're never going to be able to talk about it, ever.
Little bit.
Okay, so Eoraptor is a very interesting creature. You may have seen it in an amazing short one. A documentary called Dinotasia. I had to correct myself.
Or Dinosaur Revolution.
Yes, where it has an amazing design. I love its design in there.
Really good design.
Yes. And it was for the longest time considered to be the first dinosaur. When it was discovered. That's why its name is Eoraptor, the Dawn Thief. It's the first. It's now been realized it's not. Is it contemporaneous with Herrerasaurus?
I think it is.
Roughly. Here, I'll double check while you keep talking.
Yes, but Eoraptor is very interesting. One, if we show up a skeleton, it looks like...
It doesn't look like a sauropod.
No,
No.
which is very interesting. I actually don't know how we know it's a sauropod, so I'm going to check that just in case.
I believe it's features of the skull and hip, but I could be wrong.
I am double checking.
And yes, it is contemporary with Herrerasaurus.
It is? Okay. It lacks most predatory features, being a theropod, but... See, there's about 17 papers that say why it's a sauropod, but I did not read up on Eoraptor before this because I didn't think we were actually going to mention it, even though I should. But Eoraptor, there's a lot of science behind why Eoraptor is a basal sauropodomorph.
Yes,
but
and it's not the only one like it. There's another one from South America called Saturnalia.
There's actually 4 more.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few, but I like Saturnalia. It's a fun name.
Yeah, it's a fun name. It is.
But yes, it's from what I understand with Eoraptor, one, its dentition, which I might actually be part of the reason why, is very interesting, as it's definitely not omnivore, but it doesn't have, in its jaw, it doesn't have the adaptations needed to be a predator, apparently. And not all of its teeth are predatory. Some of them are very much, it's heterodont dentition, which I don't think we've actually talked about yet. Heterodont dentition means you have multiple different types
Should we save... Sorry, never mind. We can say that, or we can talk about heterodont dentition. I was thinking if we should save that for the little heterodontosaur in the game, but no, screw that thing.
No, agreed. I thought you were going to say, do we want to save that for Dimetrodon, but...
Let me talk about that then, too. We can say what it is.
Heterodont dentition, you're a human, you have heterodont dentition. It means you have multiple different shapes of teeth. It's multi-purpose. Humans have this, for example. So you have canines, you have molars, and I forgot what your front teeth are called. But
incisors.
Thank you. Incisors. They all look different. Whereas if you look, for example, at a T-Rex, all of its teeth look about the same.
Actually, T-Rex has some measure of heterodonty.
Carcharodontosaur, fine. I'll do the easy one. I believe they, right? Am I not wrong?
I'm pretty sure they're mostly homodont. Yeah.
Yes.
You picked like the one theropod with heterodont dentition.
I've decided easier. Shark. You looked at shark's teeth; they're all the same. There you go. I've decided. But yes, it appears as vertebrates get more distinct heterodont teeth is especially common in mammals. Actually, this may actually be a basal thing for mammals to have heterodentition from what we've seen with a lot of stem mammals. A lot of stem mammals have it. So, but in reptiles, it appears to be either a shifting. An omnivorous diet in reptiles appears to lead to heterodentition, especially if you're going back and forth or you tend to just always be omnivorous. The other thing is, it's interesting. Yes, Eoraptor's a very cool creature. And I think it still the oldest dinosaur known.
It's one of the oldest.
Proper
I don't think
dinosaur.
it's the oldest.
One of them.
Yeah, because that's if Herrerasaurus is a dinosaur, which we don't actually know if it is fully.
No, Herrerasaurus is a dinosaur.
It is. We know that.
It is.
We do know that. You're right. Oh yes, because we have like the other things. Yes. But yeah, it's very cool. We're not sadly not going to talk about the environment Eoraptor Herrerasaurus came from, because nothing in this game is from there. It's a really cool environment. It's one of the only proper environments we have of the early late Triassic. So that it appears to be
not counting Arizona. Like just most of Arizona.
Yeah, that's true. Most of Arizona, but most of Arizona is a desert. From what we understand with the Herrerasaurus and Eoraptor, it's not a desert.
Very seasonally wet and dry. Like
Yes.
Very stark contrasts.
Exactly. But yeah,
It's actually a lot like part of the Morrison.
Yeah, exactly. Eoraptor is very cool. Herrerasaurus is very cool. I'll just say with Herrerasaurus, I wish was in this game. It's such a cool creature. It's one of my favorite dinosaurs. It's probably the first dinosaur to evolve for macropredation. It's very cool. I love this. I should know what this is from. It's the Ishigolasta. Thank you. I'm dumb. Ishigolasta.
The place with the truly giant crocodilians.
Yes.
Crocodilomorphs.
Hey, we do get to talk about this, but not now because Fasolosuchus isn't ascended.
True.
So anyway,
It's the Sauropod phylogeny. We should go back to that.
Back to that. So sauropods start out pretty small, like basically every group of dinosaurs. We have Eoraptor, we have Saturnalia, which I will just say super quick. It's named for the Roman festival Saturnalia, because it was discovered during Carnival.
Oh, that's
which
so cool.
I think is amazing.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yep. And Saturnalia is a lot like Eoraptor, except it has a longer neck, a smaller head, and just a more elongated body in general, which is a trend we see continuing throughout the group. They do quickly start to get larger. It appears that they get bigger as soon as they start eating plants, which is another common thing with dinosaurs that happens a lot.
Sauropods go real fast, though.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And we start getting what used to be called prosauropods, but are now kind of a more loose grouping, just early sauropodomorphs. Like Paleosaurus is probably the most famous one. We get larger ones like Lufengosaurus in China. And then they just start exploding in size.
You did forget one thing. Most of the prosauropods are bipedal, which makes them look very weird because they look like sausages. They're really long. They're really long torsos, really long necks, and then just waddle around. Which one? I thought
it's kind of weird. They kind of look like Abelisaurids.
They do. Oh my god.
Superficially.
They do. They're like long neck, long arms.
Youngosaurus prosauropod confirmed.
Don't we know of one that's definitely... Which one's the first that's definitely quadrupedal? Is that Europasaurus?
I think Lufengosaurus is up in the air. Europasaurus is late Jurassic.
Europasaurus is something else I'm thinking of. Sorry.
At any rate, as the Jurassic period continues on, they just start exploding in size. Some of the first massive ones we find are, actually we brought this one up earlier, Cetiosaurus
Yes.
from England.
Mhm.
There's Jobaria from northern Africa, which has a really funky looking head and is estimated to be up to 60 or 70 feet long.
Which is insane for a creature that's barely existed for
30 million years.
Yeah. It does what whales did.
Yes, actually.
That's exactly what happened. Huh.
And as we start getting into the late Jurassic, the sauropods start to differentiate more, and they go in several different paths. Some of them grow really long and really skinny. Those are the Diplodocids, with a few exceptions, like Diplodocus, the thing we smashed earlier. You get weird things in China called Mamenchisaurs, or I forget what the actual group name is called, but the group that Mamenchisaurus is part of.
I think those are
just get-
Mamenchisaurs. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
they just get
Mamenchisaur day.
absurdly long necks, which possibly the longest necks of any animal, I think.
And I don't think you have to put a possibly on that. I think they just are.
Well, possibly in case of further discoveries.
Mhm.
And then you start getting some that decide, hey, we're gonna
Big.
get big and we're gonna get chunky. And that's the group that Brachiosaurus belongs to.
My favorite group.
These are the Macronarians, or
Yes.
big noses.
Um,
So called because many of them have big noses.
Yeah.
Or, well, they have big nares at least. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that in a little bit. Just a second, I have to drown myself.
I
Now,
would also.
Brachios...
Ooh.
Go ahead.
I would also put that it's not Macronarians that choose to get big. It's Titanosauromorphs.
Hello? Can I move?
Oh.
You can fly.
But yes.
I think I'm glitched out.
Oh.
Oops.
Brachiosaurus is a Titanosauromorph, by the way.
Yes, I was gonna get to that. Within Macronarians, there
Oh.
are several. Well, I might just die, but that's okay.
It's fine. You'll find your spot.
Yeah. Within Macronarians, there are a few different kinds. We have more basal ones like Camarasaurus, which this guy did live with,
Yep.
which is kind of a smaller version of Brachiosaurus. They
Except
have
with
smaller
it-
arms.
In a different skull.
Yeah, skull's
Yes.
weirder.
Also, I should note that my colleague from undergrad, she worked on a lot of Camarasaurus at Wyoming Dinosaur Center or Dinosaur National Monument, I believe, and she hates Camarasaurus because of that. And
I believe it.
and I always love teasing her about that.
Most people I've talked to who've worked on Camarasaurus hates Camarasaurus.
Yeah, but this is a special kind of hate.
Okay, yeah, I'm just glitched forever now. But yes, within Macronarians more specifically, there are the Titanosauriforms. And as you
They
can
are-
probably guess from the name, they are titans.
They earn it.
These are the dinosaurs that start start setting and breaking records with every new species.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you may recognize a lot of them. Argentinosaurus, Dreadnoughtus, Patagotitan, Diamantosaurus,
Paralititan.
Paralititan, that's the one I'm missing. These
Blue
things...
Hofkasaurus.
Yeah,
Puertosaurus.
Puertosaurus is real. Oh, no, Puertosaurus is real. I'm thinking of someone else. Alamosaurus. I was thinking of Paluxy-Titan, which is a... What is Paluxy-Titan? But that's...
Alamosaurus.
It is Alamosaurus?
No,
Okay.
it's...
It's
Oh,
Orpsidon,
wow,
right?
sorry.
No, that's
It's Orpsidon.
Paluxysaurus, which is Sorbosidon.
It's Orpsidon, okay.
But
yes.
at any rate, these are the dinosaurs that start getting absurdly massive and kind of weird. Many of them are very high browsers, with some exceptions. They have massive body size, And later on, they start to get armored, which is kind of interesting. We don't have any evidence for that in Brachiosaurus, but we have very fragmentary remains, so who knows?
Which is weird for a thing this big.
Yes. Especially in the Morrison, which has a bias towards big things.
No, Morrison's bias towards Allosaurus. Don't lie.
Well, at any rate, Brachiosaurus is a brachiosaurid. It has its own family. It shares that group with Giraffatitan, maybe Sauroposeidid? Could be wrong on that.
It's more Titanosaur-ish.
It's close.
But it's very Brachiosauridy.
I don't think Sauroposeidon is a true Titanosaur.
It's in Symphospondyli.
Amphospondyle. I should know that. Okay. That's a group.
But,
talk about it a bit later.
But they're somewhat closely related and actually look very similar.
Too similar.
But more Brachiosaurids are things like Abitosaurus, which actually has a really nice skull. We have Atlasaurus, Sidarosaurus, Europasaurus, which we mentioned before, which is actually really interesting. Europasaurus is a dwarf sauropod.
It's tiny.
It's one of these giant sauropods that got stuck on an island and shrank.
Isn't Europasaurus the smallest true sauropod?
Megarosaurus?
I don't know if it's the smallest, but it is really small.
Let me check Europasaurus. I know it's between a few. Because Europasaurus is just tiny.
It's like...
yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the skull. The skull fits in your hand.
No, yeah, it's just... It's on... Oh my, it's... I won't...
It might be the smallest now that I'm actually seeing it. I don't know.
Megarosaurus is bigger.
Ooh.
Wow.
In mass, definitely in mass. Maybe not in height, but it's definitely bigger in mass. From what I'm reading, because there's also two different species of Megarosaurus. One is significantly larger. One is about the same body size. But no, Europasaurus is tiny.
Oh wow, yeah, I'm looking at an adult skeleton. Its hip height is like a meter.
No, it's tiny.
Okay, wow. I didn't realize it was that small.
No, it's a baby.
But then getting back into the giant stuff, we also have things like Lusatitan from Portugal and Sonorosaurus from Arizona.
And the most famous one of Brachiosaurus' relatives, its closest relative, Giraffatitan.
Yep, and from here I relinquish the phylogeny stick. Whosoever wishes to talk about the giraffe may do so.
I do. So, I'm assuming everyone who's watching this knows Jurassic Park. Like,
Never seen it.
Of course, you would be the one. So, the iconic Brachiosaurus that we see in the film actually is not Brachiosaurus. It was actually based off of Giraffatitan, which is, like Doc and Dom said, a very close relative of Brachiosaurus that was found in the Tendaguru Formation in Tanzania. And it was so similar that it was assumed that Giraffatitan was another species of Brachiosaurus. But in later studies, particularly a reevaluation by Michael P. Taylor from University of Portsmouth, shows that the two are not so one-to-one. They do have some distinct differences, particularly in their body proportions.
Yes.
For Brachiosaurus, probably had like a longer and deeper body and a longer tail, and it was believed to carry a greater proportion of its mass on the forelimbs, which may have even been a little bit more of a sprawl than Giraffatitan. So
Sorry, super duper quick. I am happy to say that the in-game model here does more follow the proportions of Brachiosaurus.
It does.
So
It does.
it is what
Tail,
it
longer
says.
body. So, whenever you're thinking of Brachiosaurus in late 90s, early 2000s media, you're probably thinking of Giraffe Titan, which I don't blame you. The two were pretty much sister taxa, so
I think they are sister taxa.
they are.
Oh wow, that really glows. Jesus.
It's burning Brachiozilla.
To be fair, that kind of fits with everything else on the island it's supposed to be on.
Fair.
Sorry. Anything else you wanted to say about the Titan giraffe?
Well, it has a really cool name, for one, and let's see. I was going to ask if... I know we have skull material of Brachiosaurus, so that probably just answered my question of if the skull was based off of Giraffe Titan, but it was not.
Yeah, we do have skull material from Giraffe Titan though, and that's why we knew so early on that Brachiosaurus probably had that big old nose bump, which I know we're going to talk about more.
Oh, and should we also talk about, is it endemism, like high and low endemism, or what's the term I'm trying to think of?
For
like for example, like creatures in different areas being very similar compared to very different from each other.
Very similar would be low endemism.
Yes, like endemism was what I was thinking. So during the Jurassic period, because the continents were still, kind of connected together, but not quite Pangea-like as it was in the Triassic, dinosaurs had very low endemism, which basically means they were very similar in different parts of the world. For example, Morrison Formation and the Tenaguru Formation from North America and Tanzania, they had very similar species. We had Brachiosaurus and Giraffe Titan, we had several Diplodocids, we had Stegosaurus and Kentrosaurus, we had Allosaurus and Indeterminate Tentinoran, and Ceratosaurus and maybe Ceratosaurus in Tanzania. I'd have to double check on that, but yeah.
There's also the formation that Lucititan is from. It does very similar things as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Lucititan and Brachiosaurus, Denerosaurus and Supersaurus, which, I mean, they're both Supersaurus, never mind, but...
Decenturus.
Yeah,
Allosaurus, Allosaurus, Torvosaurus, Torvosaurus.
Yeah.
Draconix and Camptosaurus, and yeah, so that's low endemism compared to, say, like today, or where we have high endemism, in that creatures in different continents or different regions are very different from each other. For example,
I actually don't know about that.
Actually, maybe not.
Well,
The degree of endemism might be comparable.
Today, from what I understand, today's endemism is actually pretty low compared. Pretty low compared to at least the rest of the Cenozoic.
Yeah. Maybe I should say like Pleistocene or Pliocene.
Pleistocene. Yeah.
No, Pleistocene would have been lowest because all the lands were just connected.
Yeah, Pleistocene's lowest. Mind you, endemism is getting higher due to issues. I was getting higher and lower. Because of things like invasive species and rising temperatures. Things are going extinct. Things are going places they shouldn't. For example, I actually had a discussion about this yesterday when I went to the zoo, because we saw some hippos. But in a few years' time, I guarantee, because of the current things in Ecuador, I believe it's Ecuador, If you didn't know, that Ecuador has a population, Bolivia has a population of a few hundred hippos.
It's Colombia.
It's Colombia? I thought you said Bolivia. Colombia. Population of a few hundred hippos. I guarantee we speed that up by a few thousand, maybe a few million years, and you have really let's say no more mass extinctions or invasive species happen, you'll start getting really weird things. For example, snakeheads apparently now aren't considered invasive. The snakehead species in Florida has almost become part of the natural ecosystem, which is very interesting. Reticulate. Yes.
I mean, side note, in areas where they are invasive, apparently they're delicious. So
They are.
if there are snakeheads in your area, go fish them. I don't think you even need a license since they're invasive.
Fish them fish as much as you can. For once, overfishing is the answer with invasive species.
Or for example, cane toads, actually. Cane toads in Australia are actually slowly becoming not as a threat anymore. It appears a lot of the predators are either building up a tolerance or not eating them, so they're not dying. The cane toads themselves are slowly losing their poison because they don't need it. Their legs are actually getting longer because there's less. They have to jump. They have to be more terrestrial to get from lake to lake. Their tadpoles are becoming more toxic. Again, evolution happening currently. So in a few 100,000 years, now mind you, invasive species are always bad. It's not me being like, no guys, don't go do this to make evolution. No. But nature isn't as fragile as some people would have you suspect. This is weird coming from.
We should still worry about it.
Yeah,
but life, if I may, life finds a way.
Yes, that's what I was building towards. Yeah, so it's very interesting, and it's why, for example, I'm stun locking us on something not connected to this. There's this thing in spec-evo called the type of, I should know what it's called. Where the type of spec-evo where instead of, there are a few types of spec-evo. There's one that's just a what-if scenario, like some are what if the dinosaurs survived, in a few other ways. And there are ones that just build a different alien planet. And then there are things called seed worlds, which are my favorite. Mm-hmm. Seed worlds are if you've ever seen things like Chimere, there's, I should know. Serenia, that's the one I'm thinking of. Serenia is a big one. Those are basically very good examples of seed worlds, where it's you take things from Earth, place them in a new environment, and see what happens. It's a very interesting thing. Serenia is very successful. Chimera is very successful. I'm very curious what would happen if you take certain things. Like, for example, I've always wondered, what if a specific group of theropods what if the Tetnurans never succeeded? What if the early Tetnurans died? What would become the top predator? Or what if the mass extinction, it is something that I subscribe to with Monster Hunter. I think Monster Hunter is very much a kind of what if, it's kind of SeaWorld. The idea of what if the asteroid that hit the planet wasn't as bad. Still, let's say 70% of all life died. But but dinosaurs survived, for example. And that's where you get the dinosaurs mixing with mammals, which is such an interesting idea. What would happen if you get really diverse mammals like proboscideans, ungulates, put them in the same environment as sauropods and theropods, with big cats in there as well? Dinosaurs would come out on top, but how would both survive? Because they have different adaptations, different niches, but they have never interacted with other things. For example, ungulates are really... dinosaurs have... Most theropods never have to deal with something like an ungulate or a proboscidean. Smart, fast, lots of stamina. Most dinosaurs, from what we understand, hadrosaurs weren't that fast, from what I understand.
Yeah, not that fast, but
At least in long distance.
yeah.
Or how most mammalian predators are specifically built for night because of some stuff. It's a very interesting idea, and I like spec-evo, it's why I watch this. Ark's a seed world! The dumbest one in front of me. Ark is a seed world. It's what if I put a bunch of these things in a bucket and see what happens? Have you ever heard of the experiment of the centipede bowl experiment? Where you put a bunch of bugs in a bucket of venomous insects. The most venomous one will be the last one alive. It's a dumb experiment. It's very dumb, but it's kind of what Ark is. It's kind of what seed worlds are. You get very interesting things. We talk about this more in our angler episode, of where it's very much an anglerfish that has evolved to become a tuna form. I think that's the only creature that we really went into hard spec-evo, is the angler, if I'm mistaken. That level of spec-evo, I should say.
Yeah.
But
Or maybe the Reaper Rex.
maybe Reaper Rex.
A little bit.
But yeah, that's my rant about spec-evo and seed worlds. Now, let's talk about Mr. I'm Big, as his scientific name says.
Yes.
I mean, is there anything else for the real life Brachie we want to talk about?
What about popular media? Like media.
Jurassic Park is a
Jurassic-
movie that broke most records and defined generations.
Well, Jurassic Park, obviously. 3 and Fallen Kingdom as well. And let's see, there's they did appear in Land Before Time, like as a background sauropod.
Brachiosaurus is
And-
mostly Jurassic Park.
And also, if anyone knows Dinotopia, they're a big part of Dinotopia.
Yes, they are.
Mainly with the caravans that go through the rainy basin. And let's see. Obviously, let's just say if you have any popular media with dinosaurs in it, for sauropods, you'll either have Apatosaurus or Brachiosaurus.
It's Apatosaurus, Brachiosaurus, or Diplodocus.
Yes. It also appeared in Walking with Dinosaurs.
Yes!
Yes,
And
it
one of
has
the
a
best
really
scenes-
good cameo.
Yeah, it
One of the
does.
best scenes. And it was also in Disney's Dinosaur with Baleen, one of the best characters in that movie. And also Paula from Prehysteria. Like,
Huh?
if anyone remembers Prehysteria with the baby dinosaurs,
No!
I've never
That
heard of this.
it was
No.
like early 90s movie, like basically like this kid finds a bunch of baby dinosaurs and tries to keep them as pets. It's a cult classic. Like it's
Oh,
Is it
hidden.
though?
Wait, I just realized we never talked about like what environment this guy lived in.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and we also didn't talk about the baby.
Oh, yeah. That.
Oh, TLDR, also Ice Age franchise, Dinosaur Train, Dino Dan, and Terra Nova. Okay.
Oh,
And
yeah, it's a
Paraworld.
Terranova. Yeah.
And Paraworld. For the 12 people that remember that game.
I remember Paraworlds. As
You
someone
are
who's-
I don't.
underrated RTF. Basically,
Well,
Vikings and ninjas fighting on dinosaurs and mammoths.
Well, mind if I talk about the Morrison and then the baby? So, the Morrison Formation, as Dom said earlier in the video, an hour or so ago, may eventually get split into a group. It needs to be. It's just people need to decide where the lines are. It's a very large formation with a lot of different environments. The particular formation that Brachiosaurus is known from, or at least was originally found in, is called the Brushy Basin Member, and it is actually a formation I have some experience with. It outcrops in areas that I study out here. The Brushy Basin is it's a very seasonal environment. It's seasonally dry and then seasonally wet. And when the rains come,
They come down hard.
yeah. They cause floods, actually. And in fact, I find a lot of dinosaurs in flood deposits where they got, like, killed by a flood. Also, this Rex is gonna be a problem, so I'm gonna take care of it.
Just squish it.
Anyway, very seasonally dry, very seasonally wet. Environments like that often cause animals to migrate quite a bit, which could help explain why we have such close relatives of Brachiosaurus all over the world. If that environment was prevalent in those areas, which I believe it was, it probably lived near forests, if not in them, just because of its size. And that's why we have this guy near the redwoods. It probably fed on a bunch of conifers like this. And I've teased about the baby, so I shall talk about the baby. We have a baby Brachiosaurus. It was discovered in, I believe, the early 2000s by the Sawyer Museum Athol, the museum that originally, a museum from Austria run by the Sieber family. That's the family that originally found Big Al before he was rescued, along with a bunch of other dinosaurs in the same quarry. A quarry that I have actually seen, though I have not been able to physically visit it yet, because it's on private land. This baby Brachie was found in the Howe Quarry, which was originally made famous by the American Museum of Natural History in the early 1900s. And it's a little baby.
Little baby.
It's like the size of a small goat. And actually, it has very long legs and a shorter neck relative to overall body size than the adults, which you would kind of expect. Has a big head, and she's just absolutely adorable. Her name is Tony. And I love her.
She is adorable.
Yes. I think that's about all I have for IRL stuff for Brachiosaurus.
Alright. Let's see. We did popular media. We did called speedrun. We did a speedrun of popular media. What else?
Also, flying Brachiosaurus time. Because I'm going to get back to the others so we can talk about their designs.
Imagine if you're an Allosaurus and you're desperately trying to hunt a Brachiosaurus and it just starts flying. You would just give up. Like, you would just, look for the closest Stegosaurus and just ask it to kill you. Oh, and should we talk about, sauropod niche partitioning?
We already kind of mentioned that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
A little.
There's also the other sauropods in this game. We can mention it too with the Diplodocus and Brontosaurus.
Fair.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be talking a lot about Brontosaurus.
Same. Now,
Probably.
do we want to mention in-game stuff and then quickly rank it? I apparently need to go soon, so.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, I've been walking around with it. The Brachiosaurus in-game, I like it. It's huge. Yeah, it's too big, but it's Ark. Of all the creatures to make a kaiju, I think they picked a good creature to make a kaiju.
It's probably on accurate size how a Giganotosaurus would be to a Brachiosaurus.
Pretty much.
If you compare the two.
It does have some fun abilities. It can rear up on its hind legs and move around, and that's actually the main way you tame them. You have to bait a wild Brachiosaurus into standing on its hind legs, and you shoot it in the ankles until it falls over and knocks itself out by hitting the ground.
Yep.
It's great.
As with the hind legs thing, I have learned, yes, I was wrong. Brachiosaurus is one of the only sauropods that we know probably didn't do this. I'm in fact very wrong.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I've heard it might be able to.
I double checked, it's probably not.
I don't know.
Should we read the dossier?
This isn't the official Ark dossier, so I'm fine with not.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we roll Ceratosaurus, there's a factness we will.
Yeah. And yeah, it comes in a bunch of varieties too, which I like.
Yeah.
You have your base Brachie, which, you know, it's got big spots. And the animations are stellar, at least in my personal opinion.
Most of them will be.
I mean, you're
we
objectively correct there.
We have the R Brachiosaurus skin here, which I don't know the lore behind the R species. Dom,
No,
do you have any idea?
I don't follow Ark editions, so no.
Maybe a subspecies? I don't know.
I just know there are different variations. Oh, those might be the Scorched Earth versions, actually.
Why would R be Scorched Earth?
I just know a lot of the Scorched Earth ones have different patterns.
Yeah, maybe. There's Aberrant, which you were riding.
There's the X species, which is specific to one island on Fjordur. It's the volcanic island. So it's all volcany, glowy.
It's burning Godzilla.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the Aberrant one, which is found in Aberration. It has glowy spots on its back.
And then
And
there's
the Woolly, which is the most speculative.
Very unlikely at best.
unlikely at best. It's just straight up no. Also, that looks like hair, not feathers.
Well, I mean, it can be hair like feathers.
Yes.
Actually, it's pycnofibers.
Those aren't real.
Now, I will say, not for Brachiosaurus itself, but I could see a sauropod being feathered like this in a very cold environment. It's not a bad idea, especially with the areas that they have feathers.
I don't know if we have sauropods for cold environments. Period.
I said if.
Gigantothermy would have kept them warm just fine. You don't need feathers on a 100-ton sauropod.
That's a good point. Paleoloxodon was proposed to be hairless, and that thing is
20 tons at most.
Yeah, sauropods probably were at risk of overheating all of the time, even in colder environments.
Paleoloxodon also didn't live in a cold environment.
I mean, it got pretty cool, like in Europe, like in Eurasia.
Is it from the Middle East?
No,
Throughout Eurasia.
Throughout Eurasia. The Paleoloxodon's the dwarf mammoth, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, at any rate, I don't know. I like it. I think it's cool. It's fluffy.
It's cool, yes. It's just not true.
Yeah, it's just not likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. But I've been a bit silent today.
Out.
Yes.
Well, you know, Dom, you have had the least to say. Would you like to give your ranking first?
Yeah. Now, while I don't like Brachiosaurus, this has a few benefits. One, it looks cool. Two, I like the woolly one. Three, Arksauropods suck, so this gets bonus points because of that, sadly. We'll see. Dreadnoughtus is coming. If Dreadnoughtus is good, this is lucky we're doing this before Dreadnoughtus comes out in Aberration.
Yeah.
But, I have to give it X tier. I'm sorry. You might get a bit stale, but most of the Ark Editions mods are this good. This is X. It does what a sauropod should, and I can pretend it's not Brachiosaurus. I can be a hipster and say it's Lusatian or Giraffatian.
No, but
Or-
it has the proportions of Brachiosaurus. It is Brachiosaurus.
Let him
Fine.
dream.
It's Sora Poseidon now, I've decided. But no, it's X tier. It's really good. It's also it's one of the only Ark Editions mods. We'll get to this when we get to things like Ceratosaurus and Zophactinus and Deinosuchus and Acrocanthosaurus that isn't broken. Ark power scaling we've talked about in a few ways. Ark Edition is an example of it because, well, one, they want to do cool stuff. Sure, fine, whatever. But when a creature does too much cool stuff, it becomes why would you tame anything else? And Ark, well, yes, it's the most meta thing. I'm gonna say a sentence that is said in my real friend IRL friend group. Meta this, meta that. Have you met a real woman in your life?
Liberal.
So, yeah. I don't care. Ark is about taming creatures. I don't want all of my creatures to become obsolete because I tamed one. So, it does good and doesn't have what the later things have. So, X tier.
Okay. Gojira, would you like to go next, or do you want to go
All right.
next?
Overall, yeah, I really like it. I'd say it's one of the best, if not the best, creatures in Ark Editions. It has a really cool design, fantastic, and honestly, like, it's one of the few dinosaurs that feels legitimately alive like the Ark mammals do. Instead of just a static NPC, it feels like an actual animal.
Yeah.
And I love its sound design. Like, its bellow, it's just... that is headcanon sauropod. Headcanon Brachiosaurus.
Yeah. Sadly, you guys won't be able to hear it. I don't think we can actually hear the sound either.
And I listened to it on the Ark Wiki. It's really
Same.
good.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I would say like the burning Godzilla skin is a little much, and so is the feather skin. It's a little much. Like if, and keyword being if, that's a big goddamn if. It had feathers, I would say it'd probably be like an elephant, where it's like little strands of hair instead of the bushy, literal neck beard.
The bushy neck, I could actually see that not being for heat, that being for display. Where the feathers are, it's not like a mammoth. The feathers are placed in places where they're long extremities, because like elephants tend to have, from what I remember, most hair on the tips of their trunk. If I remember,
tips of the tail.
Tips of the tail too. Yeah, tips of the tail.
Also, if I may, really quick, like, yes, elephants do have comparatively little hair. Counterpoint: elephants aren't 60% long tube.
That's also what I'm saying. Yes. So
Counterpoint. Gigantothermy.
Counterpoint. This is 60 tons.
Counterpoint. It's still like 60% tube.
Yes, but 60 tons.
Yes. So, anyways, Brachiosaurus, I really like him. I would give it an S tier.
S, okay, not X. You've only given one creature an X tier.
Yeah, it has to be like absolutely perfect to get an S tier from me.
Yeah.
Like, Brachiosaurus is close, but it's S tier.
Well, no, I really, really like this creature. I've spent a lot of time with Ark Editions installed, back when I played Ark a lot more. I always tamed a Brachiosaurus. We didn't show the taming method on here, but we went over it. The taming method's really fun.
You mentioned
and
it.
it's also actually dangerous, because if that thing crashes down on you, it will one-shot you in almost any mount you could be riding.
Yeah.
It's extremely powerful, but it's not broken. The stomp has a very long cooldown, and its normal stomps don't do much damage. With that said, it's actually a very efficient resource gatherer. Like, it's surprisingly fast for its size. It has an absurd carry weight, And it's actually really good at mining basically all materials. So it's really useful. Its animations are great. I love that it has a turning animation.
Yes.
And it doesn't just do the stupid forward-backward thing almost every Ark creature does.
Mhm.
Or the... I know some Ark creatures do this, which is the...
Like, it moves like an animal. It doesn't move like a car. Most of the Ark creatures move like a car.
Something that I really hope Ark 2, if it comes out, fixes.
From what we understand, no.
Well, at any rate, as Gojira also said, the sound design, pretty great. Yeah, the X skin is kind of zany, but that's kind of the style of the X skins. And whatever this R1 is based off of, I really love it. Like, it feels really... It's beautiful, actually. I am also gonna give it an X tier. A lower X tier, but an X tier.
I think that means it goes in X, right?
Yep, a low X.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
It's stunning, and it's great, and I love them, and I'm happy to have them back in my game.
You may also notice, everyone, that we have a new tier list, as I've had to create a custom tier list now.
Yes,
So-
let me swap it over to the tier list.
Not everything's on it, but I have put some things here. This does not... If we roll one of these things, I am in fact God, and they have to... My co-hosts have to acknowledge that I am. So...
Joke's on you, I'm an atheist, so...
Same. That doesn't mean you can't acknowledge me as God.
Ay vey.
Wanna bet?
Anyways, Brachiosaurus goes in right under Desmodus. Exma tier.
Mhm. Oh yeah, did none of the light pets get next tier?
No.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Honestly, having the dossier pages are a lot better.
Yes. I like the dossier pages.
Yeah.
And also, Bulb Dog will bother you that it's smaller and has a white background.
Might for a little bit. To distract from that, shall we spin the thing?
We shall
we
spin.
Right?
Now,
Let me
what
pull it
do we
up.
want to get today, boys? We finally got a dinosaur. It's been a little bit since we've had a mammal. Actually, no. I want something from the Paleozoic. We have had. I want more I want a Paleozoic. That's what I want.
Let's give Dom his time to shine.
Not
With
Paleozoic.
Paleozoic stuff.
Yeah, I'm down for Paleozoic.
That's Ark.
Alright, let's give it a shuffle.
Doc, we see Ark.
That's Brachiosaurus.
That's the
whoops.
Brachiosaurus circle again.
Whoopsie.
The council will decide the wheel spin.
I was gonna say something not safe for work there. Thank you for saying that.
Oy vey. Alright, spinning!
Oh, I forgot Megarchelon's a thing.
And it is...
That's the opposite of what I wanted.
No!
That's in fact a sheep. That's the opposite of what I wanted.
Who wants to talk about sheep domestication?
Like...
Do we want to combine Equus into this or no? No, Equus is actually interesting,
No,
so we can't.
it's a horse.
This one's gonna be pretty short.
A sheep! It's sheep time, everyone! Yeah.
That's why you come to Arkosaurs for sheep.
For the sheep.
Yeah.
And
For the sheep and the shearing and the whatnot.
Yeah.
and the buying.
We add Ovis dossier to the yes.
Well, at any rate, if you enjoyed this episode about Brachiosaurus, please consider giving us a like and a subscribe and share this with a paleo-loving friend.
You do that.
And hopefully you'll stick around for whatever is after the sheep.
Yeah. We don't expect you to watch sheep. Don't worry.
See y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.